Hello there, and welcome back to my art table and another mini master class. And this one I'm going to talk about what gesso does versus titanium white and working on covering up a background. So you can see that I have a panel painted here with some red. I want to completely obliterate this and start anew. That is where gesso comes in. Gesso is great for priming a canvas before you paint. You can use gesso and a coat of titanium white. You can use a couple coats of gesso, a couple coats of paint. It depends on how smooth you want your surface before you paint. If you want to completely get rid of all the tooth of a canvas, I'd suggest at least 2 coats of gesso and a couple coats of titanium white, and then start your painting. It's a lot of prep, but it really does create a beautiful finish and a beautiful painting, and gives you a really smooth finish. So I'm going to do this gesso on this side. As you can see, it is a very thick, chalky, white surface paint, and sometimes you need gesso versus just titanium white. Sometimes titanium white will not completely give you all of the coverage that you need. So there we have gesso. Here we have titanium white, which my tube ended. I couldn't get any more out of this end, so I just cut off this end. I don't know if you think to do that, but that's a tip. And then just store it in a plastic bag, and you will get many, many more uses out of your tubes if you do that. So this is covering with titanium white. I'm getting pretty good coverage here. Sometimes if you have a really intense color, like a red, a black, a deep color, you're going to want to use gesso and a coat of titanium white, or sometimes it takes more than 1 coat of paint to cover. I'm getting a pretty good coverage here. And so if I don't mind a little bit of the red bleeding through into the background and starting again, then I'm perfectly fine with using just the titanium white. As you can see how that's kind of covered completely. There is a little bit of the red coming through, so I probably, if I wanted to completely knock out all that red, I'd need at least another coat. Okay, so here I've got a dry flat brush. I've got my gesso, and this is going to give me, I put a little too much down here, coverage, but it's not going to leave me a nice finish. You're definitely going to want to put some white over it. I find my gesso, gesso is very chalky. So although it's wonderful for prepping a canvas, really knocking the tooth off a canvas, and creating a really nice background, I always put a coat of titanium white or 2 over my gessoed surfaces. So this is the gesso on this side. I put a little much down so it's, but you can kind of see how much read you're getting on both of them. This one's going to completely knock out my red. This one I have a little bit of brush stroke and red coming through in person. So what I would suggest doing if you're working with the gesso and you want to knock out a background and start anew, put a coat of gesso down, put a coat of titanium white, you're good to go, or a couple coats of either. All right, so that is working with gesso versus titanium white and knocking out a background.